the cold wind of Viridian. 7 whipped across the barren moon's surface. Dust and ice swirled around the small human research outpost, making the harsh landscape even more unforgiving. Commander Alex Mercer stood outside, adjusting his suit's visor and scanning the distant horizon. He had been stationed here for 6 months, and during that time he had learned to expect the unexpected. Still, nothing could have prepared him for the signal that suddenly appeared on his scanner. It was weak, faint, and irregular. Not like any distress call he had seen before. He frowned and checked the coordinates. The signal came from a nearby sector, a few kilometers from the outpost, where the icy plains dropped into deep chasms. The area was dangerous, littered with jagged rocks and unstable ice formations. But something about the signal told him it was urgent. Humans were explorers by nature, and curiosity ran deep in his veins. He activated the outpost's rover and set off toward the source. The journey was difficult. The icy wind cut through his suit's thermal layers, and the rover's treads struggled to gain traction over the slick surface. But Alex pressed on, guided by the pulsing distress beacon. Hours passed, and the sun, distant and dim, cast long shadows across the frozen ground. Suddenly, a faint glimmer appeared in the distance. As he got closer, Alex saw the wreckage of a spacecraft, half buried in ice. Its hull was cracked, smoke rising from broken vents. He stopped the rover a safe distance away and examined the ship. It was not like any human craft he had ever seen. The design was elegant, almost organic, with smooth curves and a shimmering metal that seemed to change color under the moonlight. Alex's pulse quickened. He had encountered alien ships before in simulations, but this was real, and someone, or something, was inside. He approached cautiously, scanning for life signs. A weak heartbeat appeared on his scanner. There was someone alive inside. Alex activated his suit's communication system and spoke. "This is Commander Alex Mercer of the Human Research Outpost. If you can hear me, please respond." For a moment, there was silence. Then, a soft, trembling voice replied in a language he did not recognize. It was melodic, flowing, with tones that shifted almost like music. He quickly activated the universal translator. The voice returned, clearer now. "Please, help me," it said. "I am alone. My mate is gone." Alex's heart tightened. The fear and desperation in the voice were real. "I'm coming," he said. "Stay calm. I'll get you out." The hatch to the alien ship was jammed, warped by the impact. Alex worked quickly, using his tools to pry it open. Ice fell away in shards, and smoke curled into the freezing air. Finally, the hatch gave way, revealing the interior. The ship's cabin was dimly lit, the walls lined with strange symbols that glowed faintly. Amid the wreckage, a figure lay motionless, wrapped in what looked like a shimmering cloak. Alex knelt beside her. She was unlike any species he had encountered. Her skin had a soft, pale glow, and her eyes were large and luminous, reflecting fear and sorrow. Her hair floated slightly, as if weightless, and her body trembled from shock and cold. He gently lifted her and checked for injuries. She was weak, but alive. "Can you walk?" he asked softly. She shook her head, tears forming in her glowing eyes. I cannot," she whispered. "My mate, he is gone forever. I must find safety." Alex nodded. "You're safe now. I'll take you to the outpost." He carried her carefully to the rover, placing her gently inside. As the rover's engines hummed to life, she looked up at him with a mixture of fear and hope. "My name is Lyra," she said, her voice trembling. I am a widow. My people, we have customs. I must find a mate soon, or my lineage will end." Alex paused. He had heard of alien cultures with strict customs, but this was the first time he faced one directly. "I don't fully understand your customs," he said carefully, "but I promise you'll be safe with me. We'll figure this out together." Lyra looked at him, her large eyes shining. You understand? You accept. Alex nodded. I accept. Right now, our priority is to get you warm and treated. Everything else comes later. The journey back to the outpost was tense. Lyra remained quiet most of the way, her gaze fixed on the icy landscape outside the rover. Occasionally, she shivered, and Alex adjusted her blanket and suit temperature. He kept talking to her, not fully expecting her to respond, telling her about Earth's human settlements, the mission of the outpost, and the research they conducted. Slowly, she began to relax, intrigued by his calmness and confidence. When they finally reached the outpost, Alex guided her inside. The human team was startled at first. Alien life was rare. And an unaccompanied female alien, clearly traumatized, was an unexpected visitor. But Alex had a presence that commanded respect. "This is Lyra," he said. "She is in need of help. Treat her with care." The medical team quickly attended to her, warming her body and examining her for injuries. Alex stood nearby, watching, as she slowly began to regain strength. The alien language was flowing and soft, but through the translator, her gratitude was clear. "Humans, you are kind," she whispered. We thought you only fought, only explored." "You help," Alex smiled slightly. "We do both. Humans survive in harsh places, Lyra. We adapt. We care. That's how we live." Her gaze lingered on him, a mix of wonder and respect. "Your bravery, your care, humans are stronger than we thought." Over the next few hours, Alex learned more about her. Lyra explained the customs of her people, the Veyari. They were a telepathic species, capable of sensing emotions and intentions. Their culture valued bonds and lineage above almost everything else. Losing a mate without securing another could mean isolation, dishonor, and the end of one's family line. Alex listened carefully, not judging, not questioning. Humanity's nature was to adapt, to understand, and to help. Even though he did not fully grasp all the Veyari traditions, he understood the essence. She needed protection, and he had the means to provide it. Night fell over Viridian. 7, painting the sky with faint streaks of distant stars. Alex watched as Lyra rested in the medical bay, her breathing even but her eyes still reflecting sorrow. He could feel the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. She was not just an alien. She was a life in his hands, a culture he had to respect, and a trust he could not betray. He left her room and stepped outside into the frozen moon again. The wind cut through his suit, but he did not mind. He thought of the journey ahead, the challenges they would face together, and the potential dangers. Yet, deep down, he felt a spark of something he could not name, a connection, a purpose. Humanity had always thrived on challenges, on survival, on courage, and now he had a chance to prove it in a way he had never imagined. Back inside, Lyra stirred and opened her eyes. She saw Alex returning, his silhouette framed by the medical bay lights. Her lips moved, forming words the translator made clear. "Thank you for saving me, for understanding me, for being human." Alex nodded. "You're welcome, Lyra. But the journey isn't over yet. There's more ahead, and we'll face it together." She looked at him, a faint smile forming, fragile, but real. Together. "Yes, I trust you." The two of them, human and Veyari, stood at the beginning of a path neither fully understood. One path promised danger, discovery, and the test of courage, but it also promised something rare, a connection between two species, a chance to show that humanity's strength was not only in skill and survival, but in empathy, bravery, and the willingness to face the unknown with an open heart. Outside, the cold winds of Viridian, 7 howled, but inside, warmth lingered. Humanity had made its mark again, not through conquest, but through courage and care. And for Lyra, for Alex, and for the distant stars watching silently, a story of survival, trust, and human heroism was beginning. The days after Lyra's arrival were quiet, but tense. The outpost hummed with activity, yet Alex could feel the unease beneath the routine. Lyra had begun to recover physically, but her mind was restless. She often stared out the windows at the frozen wasteland, her large eyes reflecting the cold stars beyond. She would whisper in her melodic language, and the translator would relay fragments of thought, memories of her lost mate, stories of her home planet, and the loneliness that had followed her across the stars. Alex watched her, understanding more than he let on. Humans were explorers and survivors, but they also had a natural instinct to protect those in need. He had survived countless missions, faced hostile terrain, and even alien threats in simulations, but nothing had prepared him for this moment. Watching an intelligent, grieving alien struggling with loss and cultural expectations, he felt a responsibility that went beyond duty. He had promised to help her, and he would not fail. The first step was understanding. Alex spent hours with her, learning about the Viari culture. They were a telepathic species, capable of sensing emotions and intentions. Their bonds were sacred, and the loss of a mate carried consequences far beyond personal grief. Lyra's culture valued lineage and emotional balance. Without a mate, she risked isolation and dishonor, something humans could barely imagine. Yet, her grief was universal, something Alex could relate to. The way humans mourned, remembered, and found strength resonated with her. One morning, the outpost's sensors detected a signal from Lyra's home system. It was weak, fragmented, but unmistakable. Another ship had survived, or perhaps a rescue team had been sent. Lyra's eyes widened, hope flickering across her features. Alex hesitated. He knew the journey to her home would be dangerous, but he also knew she needed to try. "We can go," he said carefully. "But we must be ready. The path is not safe." She nodded, gratitude shining in her gaze. "I trust you, human. We must leave soon." Preparations began immediately. The outpost engineers worked with Alex to repair the Viari craft, using human technology to stabilize its engines and shields. Lyra assisted, explaining the ship's controls, its systems, and its unique features. Alex marveled at the alien design, how it integrated energy sources, telepathic interfaces, and navigation in ways human engineers had never imagined. He listened, learned, and adapted, the human mind thriving in the challenge. Finally, the ship was ready. The frozen plains awaited, vast and empty, but treacherous. Alex piloted the rover to tow the craft, while Lyra monitored internal systems. The moon's surface groaned under their movement, cracks in the ice echoing beneath them. For hours they navigated the perilous terrain, avoiding deep crevices and unstable ice sheets. It was exhausting work, requiring patience, skill, and constant vigilance. During the journey, the unexpected happened. Dark silhouettes appeared on the horizon. Small, fast-moving ships, barely visible against the icy backdrop. They were scavengers, drawn to the wreckage and the Viari technology. Alex's instincts kicked in immediately. He activated the ship's shields, instructing Lyra to focus on energy rerouting. "They're faster than us," he said, "but we can outsmart them. Follow my lead." What followed was a tense chase across the icy plains. Alex used every trick in his human training, zigzagging across unstable terrain, luring the pursuers into narrow chasms, and using the environment to their advantage. Lyra's telepathic abilities complemented his tactics, sensing danger moments before it arrived and coordinating countermeasures. Together they formed a team neither had anticipated, human ingenuity blending with alien perception. The scavengers were relentless, but Alex's resourcefulness prevailed. With a final maneuver, He led them into a canyon that the pursuing ships could not navigate. The scavengers retreated, leaving Alex and Lyra victorious, but wary. The experience had changed something between them. Lyra's admiration for humans had grown, not just for their strength, but for their cleverness, courage, and adaptability. Alex, in turn, felt a growing respect for her resilience and intelligence. That night, in the temporary shelter of the repaired craft, they rested. Lyra's hands hovered over the console, tracing patterns that glowed softly. Your people, humans, you survive. In impossible places, you adapt. You fight with mind and heart. I did not know. Alex smiled, leaning back. We have to. It's in our nature. But you're incredible too. You survived alone, with no help. That takes courage too. A quiet understanding passed between them. Words were not always needed. They had faced danger together, survived against odds, and discovered strengths in each other that neither had expected. Trust had been built, a fragile bridge across species, culture, and experience. The following day brought new challenges. Navigating through the asteroid belt near Lyra's home system tested every skill they had. Rocks larger than houses hurtled past them, and the ship's sensors barely kept up. Alex piloted with precision, weaving between massive obstacles while Lyra monitored the psychic energy fields that indicated unstable areas. A sudden collision sent them tumbling into a gravity well, and for a tense few seconds the ship shook violently. Systems failed, alarms blared, and Alex's hands worked furiously to stabilize the vessel. Lyra's telepathy guided him. Left, now, faster, careful. Slow, she whispered, her voice trembling but steady. Alex followed, relying on instinct and trust, and finally, the ship stabilized. Both exhaled in relief, their bond deepened by the shared danger. As they approached Lyra's home planet, signs of life and civilization appeared. Towering structures glimmered in the distance, and the atmosphere shimmered with color unlike any planet Alex had ever seen. But there was also danger. Scouts from a rival faction, aware of Lyra's journey, moved to intercept them. Alex's human instincts flared. They could not rely on diplomacy alone. Cunning and courage would be required. The approach was tense. Alex piloted with care, using the planet's natural magnetic fields to hide their signature from the enemy. Lyra guided him with her psychic awareness, sensing patrols and dangerous zones. For hours they maneuvered through the planet's defenses, a silent partnership of instinct, skill, and mutual trust. Finally, they reached a secluded landing zone near the edge of a Veari settlement. Lyra's people were cautious at first, their culture wary of outsiders, especially humans. But seeing her alive, guided and protected by Alex, they were forced to reconsider. Alex stepped out of the ship, hands raised in peace. Lyra's people observed him carefully, their telepathic assessments mingling with cultural judgments. Lyra spoke on his behalf, translating as best she could. He saved me. He fought for me. Humans, they are strong, brave, trustworthy. The elders looked at Alex, then at Lyra. There was tension, then a long pause. Finally, one spoke, voice resonating with authority. Your courage is rare, human. Your actions have proven your worth. You may stay, for now. Relief flooded Alex. It was not just survival. It was respect, acknowledgement, and the beginnings of a bridge between worlds. Lyra looked at him with gratitude and admiration. You have shown my people. Humans are exceptional. I Thank you. The following days were filled with learning and adaptation. Alex observed Veari customs, their rituals, and their careful attention to emotional balance. Lyra taught him their language, the subtle ways they communicated telepathically, and the importance of intention in every action. Alex taught them about humans, our creativity, adaptability, and willingness to take risks to protect others. It was an exchange of knowledge, culture, and trust. At night, under the glowing alien sky, Alex and Lyra would walk among the crystalline forests near the settlement. Lyra shared memories of her lost mate, and Alex shared stories of Earth, his childhood, and his missions. They laughed, debated, and sometimes sat in silence, simply enjoying the presence of another being who understood hardship and courage. It was during these moments that Lyra began to see humans not as fragile creatures, but as a species capable of profound bravery and empathy. She realized that her own culture had underestimated humans, thinking them limited in their abilities and emotions. Alex's actions, his resilience, and his willingness to risk everything for her safety had changed her perspective completely. One evening, as they watched the twin moons rise, Lyra spoke softly. I do not know what the future holds, but I know humans are extraordinary. You fight with courage, with heart, with mind. I respect you deeply. Alex smiled, placing a reassuring hand on hers. We do what we must. We protect, we survive, and we care. That's what humans do. And right now, I'm glad I got to meet someone like you, Lyra. For the first time since her mate had died, Lyra felt a flicker of hope, not just for survival, but for connection. She realized that humanity's strength was not in weapons or technology alone, but in the ability to face the unknown with courage, ingenuity, and heart. And in Alex, she had found the living proof of that truth. The journey had not been easy. They had faced hostile scavengers, treacherous terrain, and the unknown dangers of a distant star system. Yet, through it all, humans had prevailed. Alex's resourcefulness, bravery, and empathy had kept them alive. Lyra's intelligence, resilience, and telepathic guidance had complemented him perfectly. Together they were stronger than either could have imagined, and as they prepared to meet the greater challenges that awaited on Lyra's home world, both knew that humanity's story, its courage, ingenuity, and indomitable spirit, would continue to shine even among the stars. The twin moons of Lyra's homeworld hung low in the sky, casting soft, silvery light across the crystalline city. Alex stood at the edge of the landing zone, surveying the alien architecture. Towers shimmered with a strange, organic light, and bridges of glowing crystal stretched across wide chasms. Everything was beautiful, yet the air was tense. Scouts from a rival faction had been spotted on the fringes of the city, their motives unclear but clearly hostile. Alex felt a familiar rush of determination. Humans were explorers, but they were also fighters when survival demanded it. He glanced at Lyra, who stood beside him, her glowing eyes reflecting concern. "Are they close?" he asked. Lyra focused her telepathic senses, scanning the energy fields beyond the city. They approach cautiously, but their intent is clear. They seek, control, or capture me. They fear my return. Alex's jaw tightened. He had faced hostile situations before, but nothing like this. An enemy that wanted to claim a life to gain political advantage. "We need a plan," he said. "We can't fight them head on. Too many, too strong. But we can use the city to our advantage." They moved through the streets carefully. Lyra guided him telepathically, alerting him to ambush points and energy traps. Alex noted every alley, every ledge, every vantage point. He was impressed. Lyra's knowledge of her city was immense, but his human instinct for strategy added a new layer. Together they were forming a team neither species had fully imagined. The enemy made their first move just after dusk. Small ships appeared over the crystalline towers, their weapons casting red streaks across the sky. Their scouts landed near the outer walls, searching for Lyra. The human's presence was not fully known, but Alex understood that once they found him, it would escalate quickly. "Stay calm," Alex said quietly to Lyra. "We're going to lure them where we want." Lyra nodded, her hands hovering over her ship's controls. "I will guide. You act." Alex led the enemy into the narrow streets, using his knowledge of human guerrilla tactics. He moved swiftly, taking cover behind glowing towers and signaling Lyra to manipulate psychic energy fields to create illusions. The rival faction was strong, but they had not faced humans who could combine technology, instinct, and courage with alien telepathy. The first clash was sudden. Scouts broke into the streets, weapons drawn. Alex fired improvised traps from hidden positions, while Lyra created psychic distortions that confused and disoriented the attackers. The combination was unexpected. Humans had no psychic powers, but Alex's cleverness and adaptability made up for it, creating openings for Lyra to act. One scout tried to flank them, moving along the crystalline bridges above. Alex noticed immediately. He fired a makeshift net, tangling the enemy's ship and forcing it into a chasm below. Lyra's telepathy alerted her to another group approaching from the side. "Left 3, fast," she whispered. Alex responded, adjusting his position and preparing another trap. Hours passed, and the city became a battlefield of light and shadow. Alex's human ingenuity was unmatched. He used the environment, reflective crystal surfaces to blind opponents, narrow alleys to funnel them, and old maintenance tunnels to move unseen. Lyra complemented him perfectly, sensing danger before it arrived, creating psychic diversions, and guiding him through the safest paths. Despite the chaos, Alex remained calm. He had faced danger before, yes, but this was different. This was not just survival. It was proving humanity's strength to an entire alien culture. Humans were not the strongest species, but they were resilient, clever, and brave. Every maneuver, every strategy, showcased that truth. Finally, the enemy regrouped for a larger attack. They deployed a heavy assault ship, one that could easily destroy the defenses of the city. Alex and Lyra knew they could not match its firepower directly. "We need to make them overextend," Alex said. "We'll lure them into the canyon system outside the city. Narrow paths, limited maneuverability. That's where humans excel." Lyra agreed, directing them toward the canyon network, her telepathy guiding the way past hidden traps and surveillance. Alex piloted with precision, weaving between jagged crystal formations, dodging energy blasts and keeping their pursuers focused on them. When they reached the canyon, Alex set the trap. He positioned energy reflectors, improvised barriers, and destabilized crystal columns. Lyra created psychic illusions to make the enemy believe they had the advantage. It worked. The heavy assault ship advanced, confident it had them cornered. Then Alex acted. He triggered the reflectors, redirecting the ship's own weapons against it. Energy blasts ricocheted, striking the hull and causing critical damage. The canyon amplified the chaos, and Lyra's illusions made the enemy hesitate at every turn. Within moments, the heavy ship was crippled, forcing the remaining scouts to retreat. Silence fell over the canyon. Alex exhaled, sweat and tension draining from him. Lyra looked at him, awe and gratitude shining in her eyes. Humans, you fight differently. Clever. Brave, unstoppable, she said. Alex shook his head, smiling slightly. We do what we must. We survive, we protect, and we adapt. That's human nature. The victory sent ripples through the city. Lyra's people began to see humans in a new light, not just as explorers or curious observers, but as allies and protectors. Alex had not just saved Lyra. He had proven humanity's strength and ingenuity in the face of overwhelming odds. In the days that followed, the city healed, but the lessons of the battle lingered. Alex worked with the Veadi engineers, showing them human problem-solving techniques and creative thinking. Lyra stood by his side, translating, teaching, and learning. Together, they demonstrated that combining human adaptability with Veyari telepathy could achieve incredible results. During quiet moments, Alex and Lyra would walk through the crystalline forests near the city. Lyra shared stories of her culture, her mate, and the expectations she had feared she could never meet. Alex shared human tales of courage, survival, and the bonds of trust that allowed humans to thrive in the harshest environments. One evening, Lyra paused, her luminous eyes reflecting the alien moons. I feared loneliness. Feared dishonor. Feared that my people would see me as weak, but with you, I have hope, courage, strength. I see humans differently now. Alex smiled, placing a reassuring hand on hers. Humans survive because we try, because we fight, because we care. And we don't do it alone. Sometimes trust is stronger than any weapon, and courage is stronger than fear. The bond between them deepened. It was not just admiration or gratitude. It was a growing understanding, a partnership forged in the fires of danger and mutual respect. Lyra began to realize that humans, while not telepathic, had a resilience and bravery that her people had never fully understood. And Alex realized that humans could learn from the Veyari as well, understanding emotions and connections in ways his species rarely considered. The peace that followed was temporary. Scouts from the rival faction continued to lurk, testing the boundaries of the city's defenses, but Alex and Lyra were ready. Every maneuver, every defense, every tactic had been rehearsed in the trials of the canyon, in the narrow streets of the city, and in their combined minds, they were stronger together than either had anticipated. And then, a new threat appeared. A larger force, clearly organized and better equipped than the previous scouts. Their ships moved in formation, their weapons gleaming, their intent unmistakable. Lyra's people feared defeat, but Alex remained calm. They underestimate us, he said quietly. They do not know humans. They do not know what we are capable of when we fight for something greater than ourselves. Lyra nodded, her telepathy buzzing with focus and determination. Then we fight. Together, we survive. The final battle approached, and the air crackled with tension. Alex and Lyra coordinated the city's defenses, using every strategy, every resource, and every lesson learned from their previous encounters. Humans with their ingenuity and courage, and Veyari with their telepathy and knowledge of their home world, combined in a force neither side expected. The enemy advanced, confident in their superiority. But they had never faced humans like Alex Mercer. Using traps, misdirection, and unconventional tactics, he led the attackers into vulnerable positions. Lyra manipulated their psychic perceptions, making them hesitate, doubt, and falter. The city itself became an ally, guiding the defenders' movements and amplifying their advantage. Hours passed in a blur of strategy, skill, and courage. Slowly, the enemy's formation broke apart. Ships were disabled, soldiers captured, and morale shattered. Finally, the remaining attackers retreated, their attempt to dominate Lyra and her people utterly defeated. Silence fell again, this time permanent. Alex and Lyra stood among the crystal towers, exhausted but victorious. Lyra's people gathered around, their expressions a mix of awe, gratitude, and newfound respect. Humans were no longer strangers. They were allies, heroes, and a symbol of courage that would be remembered for generations. Lyra turned to Alex, her luminous eyes shining with emotion. You have done more than save me. More than protect, you have shown my people what humans truly are. Strong, Sometimes, well, clever, brave, honorable. Alex smiled, placing a hand on hers.
We do what we must. We survive, we fight, and we protect those who cannot protect themselves.
That is humanity. And today, together, and how, we proved it. For the first time since her mate had died, Lyra felt a sense of hope, courage, and trust that she had thought lost forever. She realized that the future, though uncertain, held possibilities she had never imagined, possibilities shared with a human who had risked everything to stand by her side. And as the twin moons rose high, casting their silvery light over the crystalline city, Alex and Lyra knew that humanity's story, their courage, ingenuity, and indomitable spirit would shine across the stars, leaving a mark not just on one planet, but on an entire species.